How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be learning how to play If Darkness Had a Sun by Metallica on guitar. So I decided to make this video for you guys who really want some accuracy in how these parts are played. Whilst I was learning the guitar parts, I thought, why not make a lesson? If you like this video, guys, please make sure to subscribe, make sure to like. So my interpretation of this song and its guitar parts is slightly different to others who've also made lessons and covers of this song on YouTube. So I thought I'd show you my interpretation, and this is as accurate as I think I can get in terms of what's going on guitar-wise in the song. We're going to be covering both James Hetfield's guitar parts and Kirk Hammett's. Before we get started though, let's talk about the key of this song. So this song can be basically dissected into three different modes. We have E Locrian, which is the main guitar riff. We then have E Phrygian, which is kind of like the verse. And then we have E Aeolian, which is in the chorus. And then in the bridge, it's also E Phrygian. So we've got three guitar modes throughout the song. E Locrian is in the key of F major, and then E Aeolian is in the key of G major, and then E Phrygian is in the key of C major. So throughout this whole entire song, we've got F major, we've got C major, and we've got G major, with the respective modes being used in those keys. Without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So in the intro, the drums play 5 bars on their own. It's at 123 beats per minute, roughly, the song. It does kind of waver a little bit because it's not locked into the grid, drumming wise. The first guitar part that we hear, both James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett are playing this same part together, and the guitar parts come in with this, low E, open notes. The way you'd count this is 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And what we're doing is we're going down, up, down with our pick. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. So down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. And we think of it in groups of 3. 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 3. So you've got 4 groupings of 3. And the way you count it rhythmically out loud is 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And what we're doing with that is also we're palm muting, as you can see. So we're palm muting pretty heavy. We're palm muting right close to the bridge, so it sounds nice and thick on the guitars. So James plays that 16 times. Kirk doesn't though. Kirk, very shortly after starting it with James, does this instead. So how do we play this? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a downstroke on the 10th fret of the 4th string with our little finger. So once we picked the 11th fret, just bend a little bit. It's not quite a half step bend, it's smaller than that. So it should sound like this. Okay? Not quite like some other people are saying in the lessons. It's almost like a quarter step bend instead. So then we go to the 9th fret and we're going to play a half step bend on this one with our 3rd finger. Same string, so the 4th. So altogether we get this. Then what we do is we go to the 5th string, 7th fret with our 1st finger. And we're going to be picking that with a downstroke again. So far we've been doing downstrokes for all 3 notes. We're going to count it like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So on the and of the 1, we then actually go back to, as you saw, the 9th fret with our 3rd finger. And we're going to do a bend that's a half step yet again. So far, 1 and 2. Then we move to the 5th fret with our 1st finger on the 5th string, and we're going to do an upstroke here just for speed to make sure that we play that note just in time. So all together. And then we repeat that 4 times. So this is what it should sound like, slow. If you want to, you can actually do the 7th fret with an upstroke or a downstroke. It's entirely up to you. The tricky thing about this intro riff is the fact that it doesn't actually start on beat 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So it actually starts on beat 4. So when Kirk Hammett is about to play this, he actually doesn't complete a full bar of... He actually just does this. So he just does 3 groupings of 3 in the last bar before he goes into that lead part. So it actually goes 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you can hear it also repeats on beat 4 as well as starting on beat 4. Right, once we've done 4 lots of that riff, then does this. So that is a downstroke on the 5th fret with our first finger. Then we're going to pick it again, but we're going to slide really, really fast to fret 7. As soon as we do that, we're going to start adding lots of wide vibrato and make sure that this rings out for a full 4 beats. So it'll be like this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Slide. So as you could hear, we did lots of wide vibrato to keep the note ringing out and not dying out too soon. And then we did a long slide descending down the string just before we got to the end of the 4th bar of sustaining this note. Right, now we go into the main riff of the song, I'd say. It sounds like this. So the interesting thing about this part, this main riff, is the fact that all the other covers on YouTube, all the other guitar lessons I've seen in the tabs, they don't make it clear that there's guitar bends in this part. And when you actually look on the video, you see James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett clearly on the 12th fret doing this. That's clearly a bend. Right, so now that's out the way, let's look into it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to play with our first finger on the 12th fret of the 5th string. We're going to do a downstroke. Then we're going to do a hammer-on onto the 13th fret of the same string with our middle finger, like so. We're then going to go to the 12th fret on the 4th string, downstroke. So far we've got... We're then going to go to the 13th fret on the 6th string with our 2nd finger. And we're going to pause there just for a moment. So all together. Extra slow. If we're to get technical, we're going to stay on the 13th fret for a crotchet. Once we've done that, we're going to go to the 12th fret on the same string. Now here's where we start doing these guitar bends I was talking about before. A lot of people say this is vibrato, it's not, it's 2 guitar bends at a half step. So what we're doing is, as soon as we're on 12 with our first finger, we're going to bend a half step almost immediately. And again, we're trying to match the sound of the 13th fret, because it's meant to be a half step bend. So half step bend, return to pitch, half step bend, return to pitch, like that. Right, so altogether we've got... Right, now we're going to play the same 3 notes we did at the very beginning of this main riff. So altogether it sounds like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to play that same thing that we did with the first guitar part, which is... So altogether, one repeat of this main riff is... And that's it, we repeat that 4 times. And just remember to return back to palm muting for those open notes. Right, so once we've done 4 of those, we carry on doing the opens. We're going to do that 4 times. And then what happens is, we move to, instead of 4-4, 2-4 as a time signature. So it's going to feel like we're doing a 5th one of these after those 4 repeats, but for half the amount of time in a bar. Like that. First bar of this part, 2nd bar, 3rd bar, 4th bar, 2-4, which we would count as the 5th bar, but 2-4. So that's a little bit weird, that one. That's something to try and get used to. It then returns to that main guitar riff in E Locrian that we just looked at, and also repeats the same amount, which is 4 times. And I should mention that both guitars are playing these parts together, both Kirk and James. Right, so that is the intro section over. Let's move on now to the verse. I'm counting this as the verse because it's when we first start hearing James Hetfield singing in the song. Right, sounds like this. So that was 4 repeats of the same idea. This is what 1 repeat sounds like. So let's check it out. And now consider this bit, instead of being an E Locrian, E Phrygian, but treating the B flat that we hear at the beginning of the first part as a flat 5 interval as opposed to the B flat we had in E Locrian. You could kind of think of that B flat as like the blue note in a blues. And that's kind of how it's being treated here in this part of the song, I think. You hear that in loads of songs. So let's get stuck into learning this part. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to be on the 5th fret of the 6th string with our first finger. We're going to pick with a downstroke. We're then going to hammer with our middle finger on the 6th fret. We're then going to play the 5th string, 5th fret with our first finger. So altogether we've got... We're now going to move over to an E minor power chord shape. Rather than playing all 6 strings, which would be an E minor chord, we're playing the 6th, 5th and 4th strings. But we're only going to play the 6th, 5th and 4th strings when we're doing our accents versus our palm mutes. What we've got so far is, now we're going to play our E power chord, and we're going to let it ring out as an accent. So we're really going to hit the strings hard when we first go to that shape. So, like that, not. We're now going to play that E minor, but with palm mutes 4 times, making sure our palm is right next to the bridge so it sounds nice and heavy and sustains. And making sure that we're only playing the 6th and 5th strings. So far we've got... Even slower. What we're then going to do is return back to doing an accent. So we're going to release our palm mute. We're then going to palm mute again. Just 6th and 5th string again this time. We're going to then do another accent. So this is what it sounds like. So if we just focus solely on the E minor part, without the first 3 notes, it would sound like this with your accents and your palm mutes. Now that we've looked at the palm muting in this particular section, you'll be glad to know there's no more palm muting. The rest of it is just open that I'm going to show you. What we're now going to do is we're going to play the open string, basically the 6th string, twice on its own. We're then going to play an F power chord, first finger on the 1st fret of the 6th string, little finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and we're going to play it for a whole crotchet. Then what we're going to do is we're going to play our E power chord again as an accent, and then one more of the open E string. And then we're at the very end of the whole sequence. So this part, that's how it sounds. Nice and slow. And let's join it now with the rest of the sequence from the very beginning. And let's see how it sounds when we repeat it 4 times, like in the song. And you'll also notice with each repeat that when I play the open 0 before starting all over again, this gives me time to shift back to the 5th fret to start the sequence all over again. So this is how it looks for your palm muting with your pick in hand for the whole sequence. Right, so next section. This section I've written in the tab as still being an E Phrygian, but basically it's kind of its own thing. It's chromatic, so it doesn't really fit in any particular scale or mode. So it's centered around A, which is our A power chord on the 5th fret, with your first finger, 6th string, and our little finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 downstrokes. Now this might be, instead of 2 downstrokes, it might be down, up, down. like it normally is for the rest of the repeats that we'll look at in a minute. But to my ears, with this being the first instance of hearing the chromatic section, as opposed to later chromatic sections, it's just down, down. But in the other chromatic sections, it's always down, up, down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to descend down to the 4th fret, to A flat, otherwise known as G sharp, depending on how you want to see it. It's still a power chord. So your first finger on the 4th fret, little finger on the 6th fret. We're going to do down, up, down with our pick. So we've got 1E and a, 2E and a. We're now going to do the same thing, slide down 1 more fret to a G power chord, down, up, down, 3E and, that would be. Then we're going to move to the 2nd fret, same thing. 1st fret, 1E and. This is the next bar now in the sequence. Back up to the 2nd fret, down, up, down, 3rd fret, 3E and then back to the 2nd fret, 4E and. So what we get all together is 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. Without me counting. Full speed, because that was not quite full speed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing all over again, twice more. Only difference being, instead of doing just 2 downstrokes on the A, we're going to do our typical down, up, down. So it'll sound like this. Down, up, down, 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 down, up, down. 2 times. So altogether we have this so far. Slower. Now what we're going to do, similar idea, 5th fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, same rhythm. But when we go to the 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, we're going to just strum once and they're going to last for a crotchet each. So a quarter note. So it'll sound like this. Slower. And I'm just playing downstrokes now with those crotchets, those quarter notes. Still counting 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. So altogether we get this. Now this bit, when you're doing the crotchets, is what James Hetfield does. Kirk Hammett, in this bit, is doing something slightly different, but Kirk Hammett, for everything up to that point, is doing the exact same part. And he's using the wah pedal. Like that. So what Kirk Hammett is doing, while James Hetfield is playing his power chords on the crotchets, is he's doing this. He's playing the 10th fret with his 1st finger on the 3rd string, 2nd finger, 11th fret on the 3rd string, 3rd finger, 12th fret on the 3rd string, and then returning to the 11th fret on the 3rd string with his 2nd finger. So he's going 10, 11, 12, 11. And he's engaged the wah for this bit. And what he's doing is he's starting with the wah closed, or in other words, all the way back. Once he's picked the note, he's bringing the wah forward with his foot. So he's pushing his foot down like this. So that's 10. When he goes to 11, it sounds like he's kind of only going halfway rather than putting his foot all the way down like we just did then on 10. So 10, 11. So not quite fully open or pressed all the way down with your foot. Then he goes to 12, goes from closed to fully open again. And then returns to 11. And when he's on 11, just before it finishes that bar, he slides down the string. And when it comes to the wah, when you return to the 11th fret, you're kind of only going halfway. So it's not completely open, not completely closed with your foot. Like that. Full speed. Hopefully that makes sense with the wah. I would like to point out, I did think that maybe instead of picking these 3 notes, Kirk might actually be doing double stop bends to achieve the sound of those notes, but here I thought maybe he's doing that, but I just can't hear it well enough in the mix to distinguish whether he's doing that or he's doing... My assumption and inclination is that he's doing this. But he could be doing double stops. We'll soon find out when we see Metallica playing this song live, which we haven't yet. But yeah, just a forewarning, it could potentially be, but it's buried in the mix. But if it was me, if I was writing this song, that's what I'd be doing, as opposed to... But I can't hear that in the mix. Next in the song, it goes back into the main riff in E Locrian. Does it 2 times. Then it goes into the chorus for the first time. In the chorus, we're now switching to E Aeolian. So this is the E natural minor scale. And in the chorus, both Kirk and James are doing the exact same thing. So they're both doubling up on this. So we're starting on a D power chord, which is your 5th fret with your first finger on the 5th string, your little finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. We're going to strum with the downstroke. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slide to the 3rd fret, keeping our power chord shape. Here's how it sounds slow. We're now going to do something similar on the 3rd fret, but going to the 2nd fret. We're going to pick the 3rd fret, and then we're going to slide to the 2nd fret. Same rhythm. So altogether we get 1 and 2 and. Now we're going to the E power chord. What we're going to do, we're going to play this for a crotchet, so a quarter note. It's going to sound like this altogether. 1 and 2 and 3 and. On the 4, so beat 4, we're going to play the open 6th string on its own once. Again with the downstroke. So altogether, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Fast to normal speed. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we're going to go back to the 3rd fret, in the same place as before, with our power chord shape. And we're going to slide to the 2nd fret, same string, just as before. So altogether. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Then we're going to go to the F power chord from the 2nd fret. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and 2 and. So altogether we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. On the 3 and, we play it again, 3 and. On the 4 and, we play it again, 4 and. So altogether the F power chord goes and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Slower. And 2 and 3 and 4 and. Joining it with the rest of the chorus. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So essentially playing the F power chord 3 times. Full speed. So that's part 1 of the chorus. Part 2 out of 4. We're going to do the same thing again, descending on the D power chord. But instead of going to the 1st fret this time, we're going to go back to the D power chord. And the rhythm is going to be this on the D power chord. And 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You'll notice there that we did an upstroke for the first time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So strumming D 4 times altogether. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're going to have to be careful because when we go to part 3 now, we're also playing D. So we're not changing to a different chord on beat 1 of part 3. We're actually going to play D again. Part 3 is going to be the same as part 1. Part 4 is similar to part 2, going back to D, but the rhythm at the end with the D power chord is slightly different. It's going to go like this. With a little slide at the end. So that is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you're just strumming the D power chord 3 times. And that is the chorus. So half speed. So as you can see, all of the strums are downstrokes, apart from that little upstroke that happens once when we're playing the D power chord 4 times, which is in part 2 only. Right, okay, now we are up to what I would call the bridge section. So we're after chorus 2 now. This is what the bridge section sounds like. This is what both James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett are playing together. And then right after this bit, what actually happens is Kirk Hammett starts his solo whilst James Hetfield repeats this for another one time. So let's check it out. What we're going to do is we're going to split this mentally into 4 sections, as usual. So the first part, we're going to be laying our first finger flat on the 5th string and 4th string, no matter whether we're on the 2nd fret, 3rd fret or 5th fret. So rather than doing this, do this. Because that's how I saw James Hetfield playing it in the music video. What's interesting as a footnote is the fact that when you listen to this part in the actual song, it doesn't sound like Kirk or James are always hitting both strings cleanly. I'm going to get loads of hate from Metallica fans now, but yeah, it doesn't sound that clean on the record, this bit. But essentially what this is a 4th chord, and we're just moving it from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, so on and so forth, barring our 1st finger. We're then going to return to the 3rd fret, and then we're going to return to the 2nd fret. So between the 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 4th chords, we're going to be pulling off to the open of those 5th and 4th strings, like this. But between those different 4th chords, we're going to be playing the open 6th string with a palm mute. So what we get is this. 2nd fret, pull off, open E. Same thing next, but with the 3rd fret. Same thing with the 5th fret. Same with going back to the 3rd, and then back to the 2nd fret. So we've always got this palm muted open E note between the 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret. And with that last open E, we're going to let that ring out until we start part 2. So that's obviously going to last longer than all the other open E's palm muted. Like that. So slow. We're going to start off the same for the 2nd fret and 3rd fret, but then it's going to change. So we're going to go, but when we get to here, we're going to play a G power chord twice. But what we're going to do is with the 1st strum, and it's downstrokes by the way, we're going to create staccato. Once we've done that, we're going to descend down a semitone to the 2nd fret in an F sharp power chord position, and we're going to play the F sharp power chord twice. But it's a different rhythm this time. So instead of it's, here's how it sounds with the counts. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's how you count it. Here's how it sounds all together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's see how part 1 sounds all together. So that's all of part 1. And this is what my picking hand looks like with the palm muting. So part 2 is the same as part 1. The only difference is, instead of going to F sharp, you go to D. So D, yet again, is on the 5th fret of the 5th string with your 1st finger, and then the 7th fret of the 4th string with your little finger. And we're only playing it once. So what part 2 sounds like is this. Part 3 is the same as part 1. Part 4 sounds like this. So what's happening here? So all of this is the same. But instead of ending on that open 6th string once, we actually build an E power chord. And what we're going to do is we're going to play in groupings of 2 3 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it sounds like this slow. Try and make the palm muting as heavy as possible in this bit. And we need to try and make sure there's silence as much as possible in between the groupings. Silence, silence. And the way I'm doing that is I'm stopping the strings with my third finger on the fretting hand, and then what I'm doing with the picking hand is I'm also letting go of the palm mute. So there we have it. Like I said before, James Hetfield then goes on to play the whole entire thing again. Kirk Hammett then does his solo. Here's what it sounds like all together. Now, before we look into Kirk's solo, let's look at what happens once James Hetfield has played that bridge section another time under the solo. What James Hetfield then does is this. And he does that 4 times. So I choose to use both my first finger and second finger rather than barring. Now, it's really hard to hear in the mix of the song exactly what this part is. This is as close as I can get just listening to the song. Obviously, when people start seeing the song live, we might see through video footage that it's a little bit different. I don't think it will be that much. I'm pretty sure this is fairly accurate. So what we're going to do is we're going to, yet again, play a 4th chord on the 2nd fret with the 5th and 4th strings, pulling off on both strings too. Then what we're going to do is we're going to play the 6th string, open, like usual. Then we're going to go to the 3rd fret, doing the 4th chord there. We're going to let it ring out this time. 3, 4. Then we're going to do the same thing, but this time instead of going to the 3rd fret, we're going to go to the 5th fret. 3, 4. And this is how you count it all. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then what we're going to do is, same as usual, 4th chord on the 2nd fret, pulling off. And we're doing that as a downstroke, by the way. Everything we've done up to this point, actually, in the whole entire bridge is just downstrokes. But instead of going to any other 4th chord this time, we're going to do a really interesting pattern on the E string, which is like this. So after we've done the 4th chord and it's pull off, we do 4 groupings of 2. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and then 1 on its own, down. So 4 groupings of 2 and then 1 down on its own. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. This is what it sounds like all together. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then the next part, it carries that on that exact same rhythm. Instead of, what it does is it just goes. So you're compensating for the lack of 4th chord and pull off with just 1 open on the 6th string palm muted using a downstroke. And then the rest of it is the same. So if we factor in that new downstroke at the beginning, rather than the 4th chord, it's down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So it still has 4 groupings of 2 with down, up, and also the downstroke that's on its own at the very end, just like before. But you're just adding an extra downstroke at the very beginning to compensate for the 4th chord not being there. I should also mention that in this entire bit, you should be doing palm mutes every time you play the open string that's... So all together with the palm muting, nice and slow. And the picking for this whole entire bit is down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And let's look at it from the side with the picking. Full speed. So it does that 4 times altogether. So if you're wondering what happens next for James Hetfield after he's done there, he does this. He carries on that open string idea, just the same, no different, for 3 more repeats. 1, 2, 3. And then he does this variation where he misses the last note in the sequence. So you're just doing 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, silence. And that is all of the rhythm section for the bridge and the solo. Right guys, time to check out the solo section. This section is going to be pretty long. I'm going to try and cover all of the solo with as much note for note accuracy as possible. So without further ado, let's check it out. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to split this solo into 4 parts to make it easy to memorize. This is the first part. We're going to be on the 7th fret of the 2nd and 3rd strings. First finger on the 7th fret 3rd string, 2nd finger on the 7th fret 2nd string. What we're going to do is we're going to pick these 2 strings together. Once we pick them, we're going to do a bend slightly downwards and then return back to pitch. And then we're going to repeat the process. This is the rhythm. All right, now we need to include the wah in this. So what you're going to do with the wah, you're going to engage it straight away at the beginning of the solo. So my heel is pressing down on the bottom of the pedal. So the wah is going to copy my bending. So when I'm not bending, the wah is going to be closed. When I do the bend, the wah is going to be open. Open meaning I've pushed my foot down. Closed meaning I've returned it back to just where my heel is. So this is what it's going to sound like. So there we go. And then before we switch the wah off for the rest of the solo, we're going to do this. So open with the wah on the 7th fret with our 3rd finger. We're going to then close the wah and pull off to the 5th fret on the same string, so 3rd string in this case, with our 1st finger. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the 7th fret on the 4th string this time with our 3rd finger and pick it twice. Closed once. Open the 2nd time, so we get, and then we do a slide as well, as you can hear, down the 4th string. So all together. I think the way Kirk is playing it on the wah is a little bit more subtle than I'm doing here, but that is basically how he's using his foot on the wah. Right, now we need to switch the wah off. Let's move on to the next bit for part 1. We're going to play the 17th fret on the top E string with our little finger. We're then going to play the 15th fret with our 3rd finger, and we're going to play the 12th fret with our 1st finger. And we're going to be basically just doing tremolo picking the whole time and repeating this idea. Now, Kirk Hammett doesn't do it exactly like this, but this is what I think he was trying to do on the record, the way I'm going to show you. The way he does it on the record is a little bit different with timing. Sometimes instead of just doing pure tremolo picking, he's doing some pull-offs. He's sometimes doubling notes on the 12th fret or the 17th fret. It's a little bit chaotic, whereas the way I'm going to teach you is basically the way I think he wanted it to sound. But this will really get you in the ballpark and it sounds really cool. If I was to try and show you exactly the way he plays it, you'd realise that it's just not worth it because, yeah, you can tell this is what he was aiming for. Okay, so we're always going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Never 2 downs, never 2 ups. Now, it's pointless to count this, and that sounds crazy. But the reason I'm saying this is because there's so many of the 17, 15, 12 repeated over and over and over again with tremolo picking. It's better to just count in bars and then know when to finish this bit and move on from 17, 15, 12. So, the way I want you to think of this is you're going to do this for almost a whole entire 2 bars. And the very last time you go to repeat it before bar 2 is over, instead of going 17, 15, 12, you're going to play the 18th fret with your little finger rather than the 17th fret this time. 15th fret as usual, 12th fret as usual. So it's going to sound like this, and I just kind of count the beats. So basically, yeah, go by feel with this one. That is what Kirk Hammett is trying to do, but that sounds good enough, I think. Now the rest of the solo is note for note what I hear from Kirk Hammett. Then what we do is we go into this really kind of crazy descending part. And it's quite nice, this lick. It goes all the way from here, from the 15th fret, all the way down to the 1st fret, all across the high E string. So it's going to sound like this slow. And it's kind of got a triplet feel to it. So that's what it sounds like. at slow speed, at fast speed. So the trick is, after doing 18, 15, 12, like we did just before, we're going to stay here because we're already in that area to start this descending lick that I just played. So once you're out of 18, 15, 12 and you're about to start this descending lick, I would start with your little finger on 15. We're then going to go to 12. So far we've got down, up. We're then going to move to the 10th fret with our first finger, like that. So 15, 12, 10, down, up, down. Then we're going to go to the 14th fret with our little finger. So we change position here at this stage. We're then going to do another grouping of 3. We're going to go 14, down, up, on 10 with our first finger. Slide our first finger again. This will be a reoccurring theme. Onto 8, downstroke. So far we've got. Then what we're going to do, this bit's the most awkward out of all of this descending lick. We're still going to think from where we left off on the 8th fret. So you've come from 8, you're now going to play for the next grouping of 3. 12th fret with your little finger, 10th fret with your 3rd finger, but this time you're going to reach over to 7. So far we've got down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's the worst bit, that. We're then going to play 10 and 7 again. So 10 as an upstroke, 7 as a downstroke, and then we're going to shift our first finger down to the 5th fret, upstroke. So the new grouping of 3 is up, down, up. We're going to repeat that pattern again, but 2 frets down. 8, downstroke, 5, upstroke, and then shift slide with your first finger down to the 3rd fret, downstroke. So far we've got almost there. We're now going to do an upstroke on 5 for the next grouping 3. We're going to then play the 3rd fret with our first finger, and then we're going to go to the 1st fret. So what we have altogether is down, up, 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 down, up. What we do here is we're actually going to pick the 3rd fret again with our 3rd finger and do a pull off to the open string. So pick, pull off. And then we're going to play the E string twice again. So 3rd fret, pull off, pick, pick. And that is this whole descending lick. There we go. Pretty challenging, that bit, but you'd be surprised. Once you get used to the feeling of the shift slides with your first finger and base that as a pattern to work off, then it actually becomes quite easy. Quicker than you think. Next, what we're going to do to finish part 1. And slow, it sounds like this. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to slide from the 12th fret on the 4th string with our 3rd finger to the 14th fret. We're then going to palm mute and play the 14th fret another 2 times. Like that, so all together. Then what we're going to do, we're going to bar the 12th fret across the 3rd and 2nd string with our first finger. And then we're going to go back to the 14th fret with our 3rd finger on the 4th string. So this is the rhythm. It's up to you how you pick this. I like to do an upstroke on the 4th string when we return to the 14th fret. Then what we're going to do, we're going to play the 14th fret, same idea, barring across both the 3rd and 2nd string. So I'm using my 3rd finger for that. So far we've got. So you can see how that upstroke on the 14th fret, when you return from the 12th fret barring, really helps with speed. So what I do is I go down, 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 down on 12, up on the 14, and then that gives me time to be quick with the 14th fret, which is played pretty quick afterwards. Then we're going to do an upstroke on the 12th fret, barring again the 3rd string and 2nd string. So we're going down, 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 up, down, up. And then we're going to play the 14th fret twice yet again. And with a little bit of vibrato at the very end. With a bit of a slide too. But you gotta be careful because that note doesn't last that long in the song. So it sounds like this all together. Right, so that is the end of part 1 of the solo. Let's move on to part 2. So this part sounds like Kirk improvising in E minor pentatonic position 1. So it's going to be quite repetitive. You're going to notice a lot of repetitions of 3. So the beginning of part 2 plays this. So that's how it sounds fast, slow. So for this part, we're going to be on the 5th string, 12th fret with our first finger, picking it once as a downstroke, and then we're going to do a hammer-on onto the 14th fret with our 3rd finger of the same string. We're then going to go and do the same thing, but picking both notes this time on the 4th string. So 12 and 14, we're doing down, up. So far we've got down, down, up. Then, for this bit, we're going to stay on 12 for a little bit longer on the 3rd string with our 1st finger. So, that's what we've got so far. Think of that as a little cluster. We're going to move on and play 12 again, then 14, and then we're going to do a full step bend on 14 and return it back to pitch. Then we're going to go back to 12, an upstroke. We're then going to play the 14th fret on the 4th string as a downstroke, and then we're going to play the 12th fret again on the 3rd string as an upstroke. So altogether we get this. What happens next is Kirk starts to play this type of blues lick over and over and over again 3 times. Kind of like that. The rhythm changes between each repeat, but one of these sounds like this. That's how it sounds slow. So we're going 15, downstroke on the 3rd string, 14th fret, upstroke, 12th fret, downstroke. That's all on the 3rd string, little finger, 3rd finger, 1st finger. And then we're going to go to the 14th fret on the 4th string, and we're going to do an upstroke on that one. We're then going to go back to the 12th fret, and then the whole idea repeats again. So all together, then again. And the 3rd time it does this, the rhythm is a little bit slower on the 15 and the 14. Listen to the song for the rhythm. I don't think this was intentionally planned the way I was going to play it, it just happened as they were recording, which is why I'm not getting into loads of detail about the rhythm in this bit. It's just kind of improvising on that idea. But those are the exact notes, and it is played 3 times, just like I played it then. Then what happens, after 3 repeats of that, is Kirk then does almost the exact same thing, but what he does is he starts on 14 instead of 15 this time, and what he's doing is he's going 14, 15, 14, 12, 14, 12. So it's only 1 note extra. So 3 repeats, just like before. The only difference between these 3 repeats, after you've played the 14th fret as a downstroke, when you go to 15, you're going to do a sequence of pull-offs. 15, pull off to 14, pull off to 12. And then it's always picked after that. So that's the only variation between these 3. So far, we've got 2 different versions of the blues idea. Again, listen to the original song for the rhythm with these. He is kind of playing around with the rhythm slightly, especially when it gets to the 3rd repeat each time. Right, so after we've done the blues part, this is what the next part sounds like. Slow. Right, so how do we play this? So we're going to go on the 12th fret with our 1st finger, 3rd string, downstroke. We're then going to do an upstroke on the 14th fret on the 3rd string with our 3rd finger. And this bend is going to be somewhat slow. It's not a quick bend, anyway. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bar the 12th fret on the 1st string and 2nd string. We're going to pick the 1st string first, and then the 2nd string second. So far we've got... We're then going to go to the 15th fret on the 2nd string with our 3rd finger, and we're going to do a full step bend here. And that gives us our E note. With this bend, we're bending it much quicker than the bend we did on 14. So it's almost instantaneous. So all together. Then what we're going to do is we're going to play the 12th fret again on the 1st string with our 1st finger. 15th fret with our little finger this time. You can still use your 3rd finger if you want on the 2nd string. 12th fret on the same string, so 2nd string with our 1st finger. So far we've got. Then we're going to go back to 15, yet again, on the 2nd string, little finger, or 3rd finger if you want. 12th fret again on the top string, and then we're going to go back to 15 again, 12 again, this is on the 2nd string, the 15 and 12, back to 15 again. And this time, on 15, we're going to add some vibrato. So all together. Next bit, we're going to do this. That's what it sounds like slow. So 15th fret with our little finger, and we're going to pick this once. We're then going to go to 12. These two notes are both on the second string. We then go to the 14th fret on the third string. So far we've got, and I'm going down, up, down for this. I'm then going to return to the 12th fret on the second string with my first finger as an upstroke. And then what we're going to do, we're going to kind of roll our first finger from where it currently is, where we left off, over to the 12th fret on the third string. If that's uncomfortable, you could just bar this whole thing like. Once we're on 12, where we left off, we're then going to play 14 on the third string with our third finger. We're then going to return back to 12, and then we're going to return back to 14. So all together, 15, 12, 14, 12, 12, 14, 12, 14. What we're then going to do is we're going to do a pre-bend, which means we're going to bend the string before we pick it, and we're going to do a half step pre-bend. And then release it. So we're getting the sound of the blues note, that flat 5 on the 15th fret by doing this. So once you've done the pre-bend, you pull off to 12 with your first finger on the same string. And then finally play the 14th fret on the 4th string. So fast it sounds like this. Okay, over to the next bit. This bit is weird. Kirk Hammett's doing a full step bend on the 14th fret, and basically he just holds this bend and does this kind of idea. Something like that is what he does. Slow. And you kind of just have to feel this one out. I normally hate saying that, but the amount of times that you're picking the string when it's held as a full step bend is a bit weird. The way I think of it is you bend the string on 14, a full step, you then pick it again, but instead of letting it last as long as the first time you did the bend, you're going to interrupt it with 4 quick notes together. So you're holding the bend the whole time here, kind of like that. And then once you've played those 4 fast notes, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, you still keep holding the bend, but now you're going to do this kind of rhythm. And slowly return back to pitch on the 14th fret. Once you have returned back to the pitch of the 14th fret with no more bend left, you're going to do this rhythm. So you pick the 14th fret twice, down, up, and then you play the 12th fret. So this is all on the 3rd string, obviously. So again, listen to the record for the rhythm. I think this was also improvised. And what I should also add is that when you are on 12 at the end of this bit, you need to add some vibrato. Right, so now we're on to part 3. We are halfway there through the solo. So now Kirk Hammett is going to still be playing blues style licks, suggesting Dorian mode actually. And we're going to start off with this. So what we're doing is we're borrowing with our 3rd finger on the 14th fret on the 3rd and 2nd string. We're bending the string down a little bit. We're then going to the 12th fret on the 3rd string with our 1st finger. We're going to be picking this note and just bending it ever so slightly out of tune. And then what we're going to do, we're going to play the 14th fret with our 3rd finger on the 4th string. And once we picked it, we're going to add a little bit of vibrato. We're then going to return to the 12th fret with our 1st finger and again, bend it slightly out of tune, kind of like a quarter bend. I think that's the best way to describe it. So far we've got. Then, similar idea, we're going to do the 14th fret barring again. Just the same. Now, instead of doing a quarter bend on the 12th fret, we're going to just play 12 as normal. And then instead of vibrato on the 14th fret this time, no vibrato. And then this time we're going to go to the 12th fret on the 4th string, and we're actually going to bar both the 4th and 3rd string and play these 2 notes together, like that. And here's the rhythm. And then to finish it off, we do a full step bend on the 15th fret with some vibrato. All together. Next bit in part 3. using our little finger on the 2nd string, 15th fret. We're going to pick it on its own. Then what we're going to do, we're going to prepare our 3rd finger on the 14th fret of the 3rd string as a pre-bend. And then what we're going to do is pick them both together. And gradually you're letting the 3rd finger return back to its normal pitch on the 14th fret. So it's a full step pre-bend essentially. And we're going to do that pre-bend 3 times. Then what we do is we bar the 12th fret on the 2nd and 3rd string, and we play that once. We're then going to go to the 14th fret on the 4th string. Then we return back to the 12th fret. We're going to play it twice this time on the 3rd and 2nd strings. Then we're going to return yet again back to the 14th fret. This time we're going to let this note sustain, give it a little bit of vibrato, and a little slide at the end. So all together. We're almost there now at the very end of part 3. This is the last instalment of part 3 and we're going to split it in half. 2 different licks essentially. That's the first part. Then it goes. Slow. We're going to be on the 5th string with our 1st finger, 12th fret. We're then going to hammer on to the 14th fret with our 3rd finger. And then we're going to pick the 14th fret twice. So it sounds like this. Down, down, up. We're then going to do the exact same thing on the D string. So nice and slow. Same picking technique. We're then going to go to the 12th fret on the 3rd string. Pick it once. We're then going to return to the 14th fret on the 4th string with an upstroke. We're then going to go back to the 12th fret on the 3rd string, downstroke, all together. Then we're going to do a bend. The bend is a little bit delayed. It's not a very quick full step bend. It's a kind of like that. So we're going to go that kind of idea. But Kirk Hammett is aiming for a full step. So the sound of the 16th fret on the 14th. Then we go to the 12th fret after the bend on the 3rd string, and then we go back to the 14th fret on the 4th string with our 3rd finger. And we're going to give the 14th fret a little bit of vibrato. So all together. Slow. The picking pattern is down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, the last of this instalment, we're going to slide out of nowhere to the 14th fret on the 4th string. We're then going to play the 12th fret with our 1st finger on the 3rd string, and then we're going to return back to the 14th fret yet again on the 4th string. We're then going to play the 12th fret with our 1st finger on the 3rd string. We're then going to do this. We're actually going to lay our 1st finger flat on the 14th fret on the 3rd and 2nd string. We're going to put our 3rd finger on the 16th fret of the 3rd string, and then our 2nd finger on the 15th fret of the 2nd string like this. And there's a reason we're barring with our 1st finger. Once we've played these 2 notes together, we're going to let both the 3rd finger and 2nd finger off the fretboard and do an upstroke. And we're left with that 14th fret idea we've seen before. We're then going to slide that 14th fret down to the 12th fret. Like that. So we get. Then we're going to play the 14th fret on the 4th string with our 3rd finger. We're then going to lie it flat and play the 14th fret on the 3rd and 2nd string again, 3rd finger barring. Play the 12th fret again, 1st finger barring. And then go back to the 14th fret on the 4th string. Giving it a little bit of vibrato. The picking is down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. And make sure to add vibrato on that 14. Now we're into part 4. Okay, so now we're up to part 4, the last instalment of this solo. It begins with a descending section on the E string that sounds like this. And then I'll show you the next part later. So slow. I'm going to start off with the 12th fret, pulling off to the 10th fret, So that's third finger and first finger. We're picking just the 12th fret, obviously, since it's a pull off. We're then going to pull off the 10th fret to the open string. So we get 12, 10, 0, 3, 1 with your third finger. We then are going to do the same idea, but on the 10th fret and the 8th fret. So far we've got... We're then going to do the same idea, but starting on the 7th fret this time. 7, 5, 0. So far we've got... Then what we're going to do, we're going to ascend just for a moment, going onto the 8th fret with our middle finger, picking that, pulling off the 7 with our first finger, and then playing the open string. So it's pick, pull off, as normal. So we've got... We're then going to play 7, 5, 0 again, meaning the frets. So we've got... We're then going to go to the 5th fret, and we're going to pick this, pull off to the 3rd fret, pull off to the open string. And then what we're going to do is we're going to play 3rd fret with our middle finger, pull off to the 2nd fret, and then pull off to the open string. So we get 3, 2, 0. So altogether, 12, 10, 0, 10, 8, 0, 7, 5, 0, 8, 7, 0, 7, 5, 0 again, 5, 3, 0, and then 3, 2, 0. Quite a cool little lick actually. Then what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of doing downstrokes, which we did for all of that section, we're going to do this instead. Even slower. So we're always going to play upstrokes when we play the open string rather than downstrokes. It makes this lick easier for some reason. Don't ask me why, I just noticed it when I was practicing it. So we're going to do an upstroke, open, hammer onto the 5th fret with our 3rd finger, pull off to the 3rd fret, and then pull off to the open string again. So we get 0, 5, 3, 0. We're going to do the same thing but 2 frets up, 0, 7, 5, 0. We're then going to play that all over again, 0, 5, 3, 0. 0, 7, 5, 0. So what we've got so far is this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to play one more of 0, 5, 3, 0. But then we're going to add the 2nd fret and the 3rd fret. So it sounds like this, 0, 5, 3, 0, hammer 2, hammer 3. Then we're going to play an open with an upstroke. We're then going to play an open with an upstroke again, and do the 0, 5, 3, 0 again. And then we're going to finish this segment with the 7th fret, upstroke, pull off to the open. There we go. Then to finish off, it does this. Slow. Something like that slow. It's a little bit weird the timing again in this, he's just kind of improvising. It's not the same rhythm over and over and over. Anyway, we're going to do a full step bend on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. We're going to return it back to pitch. We're then pulling off to 8, same string, 1st finger. We're then going to hop to the 3rd string, 9th fret with our 3rd finger, pull off to the 7th fret on the 3rd string with our 1st finger. And it does that basically 3 times, but slightly different rhythms. The first 2 are similar. The 3rd one is a little faster. And actually the 2nd repeat of the sequence is not quite as clean as that in the original. So we've got kind of like that, so the 3rd one's a little faster. Then the 4th one does this. So the first part's the same, but then we're going to play the 9th fret on the 4th string with our 3rd finger. We're then going to return to the 7th fret on the 3rd string, hammer onto 9, pull off back to 7, play the 9th fret on the 4th string again. Then we're going to go back to 7, but this time we're going to shift slide to the 9th fret, play the 9th fret again with vibrato. So we get. And then to finish it off, we play the open string for 2 beats. 1, 2. We then slide to the 12th fret in that vibrato. 3, 4. Another 2 beats. We then slide to the 5th string, 10th fret, this time instead with our 3rd finger, sliding from nowhere, adding vibrato again. And then we go to the 9th fret on the 4th string, sliding from nowhere again. And that is the whole entire solo. You can actually use whatever fingers you want when you're doing the. They're all 2 beats each, but the idea is to give each note that's fretted lots of vibrato. Whew, so that is the solo. But that's as close as I could get, guys. I hope, anyway, this has been insightful, and I hope you've enjoyed it. What happens next? So it does the chromatic section, yet again, for the 3rd time in the song, just like you played it the 2nd time round, with the down, up, down at the very beginning for the A power chord. Parts are all the same. It then goes back into E Locrian for the main guitar riff, which happens 2 times. And then it goes into chorus 3, which is exactly the same as chorus 2 and chorus 1. But then this happens. And then carries on the chorus idea with a little bit of variation. So let's check this out. We're going down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, playing the E string, groupings of 3, 4 lots. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's obviously palm muted. We then go to our F power chord, just as before. We're going to play this 5 times palm muted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then what's interesting is it goes to a 4th chord rather than a power chord. But this time we're going to get the octave. So what we're going to do is we're going to bar the 6th string and the 5th string at the 3rd fret with our 1st finger. And then we're going to add our little finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. And we're just going to play the 6th, 5th and 4th strings. And we're going to play this 3 times without the palm mute. Which sounds like that. So altogether, this little intersection that we're looking at between the chorus that we already know and then the chorus variation we're going to look at next sounds like this. And I'm just doing downstrokes for that 4th chord. And as usual, Kirk and James are both playing this together, just like they're always playing the chorus together, exact same parts. Here's the chorus variation after we've done our normal chorus and the part that we just looked at. What we're going to do is we're going to play the first part of our original chorus, but we're going to do that 3 times. So it sounds like this. Then what we're going to do now is we're going to do this. Like our normal part 4 in a regular chorus. So altogether this chorus variation sounds like this. With a little slide at the end. That whole chorus and little intersection is obviously back in E Aeolian mode. It then goes back into the guitar part at the very beginning of the song, and it repeats it twice. Again. What Kirk Hammett is doing, double stop bends. So that was 1 bar. So what he's doing is double stop bends with his 1st finger on the 12th fret of the 1st string and his 3rd finger on the 15th fret of the 2nd string, doing a bend on the 15th fret to get the sound of the note E instead of D. What I should say about this outro as well is that it's also back in E Locrian, and it's E Locrian until the very end of the song. So after chorus 3 and its variation and the bit between, and after doing the twice, we're then back into E Locrian and James Hetfield is doing the main riff twice. And then it goes to 2/4 and James Hetfield just does this. So he only partially does the main riff. And then when you're on the 13th fret, you do a big slide. So that is a borrowed 2/4. Then we have the big outro. This is the next section that we need to look at. Both Kirk and James are doing this together for 4 repeats. Then James Hetfield carries on this rhythm for another 3 repeats, but Kirk Hammett instead does the lead part. So this is what it sounds like. So what we're doing is we're playing down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. And then that bit at the end. So if we count it in groups, it's 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. And you notice that we're palm muting the open E string as usual, like we do a lot on this song. And we're still doing that big slide from the 13th fret for the... So that happens 4 times, both James and Kirk playing that together. So it sounds like... Then, as I said before, James does this another 3 times. Kirk, however, starts his lead part, which sounds like this. So that's the part that Kirk Hammett plays right up to the end of the song. What's happening? So he's joining James Hetfield for the next bunch of repeats, but only up to this point. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Then what he does is he goes 10th fret with his first finger on the 2nd string, downstroke, hammers onto the 11th fret. This is all on the 2nd string. So you get... Then he plays the 10th fret on the 1st string with his first finger. Then what he does, he plays with his middle finger on the 10th fret of the 3rd string. And you're going to stay there for a little bit. Then he goes to the 9th fret on the 3rd string. And what he does is he adds vibrato. And then instead of returning to the... He never does that again. Now, once you've played that 3 times... Second time. Third time. This note is going to last for 3.5 bars. And what's going to happen is you're going to keep doing the vibrato, and there's a little fluctuation in the speed of the drums from Lars Ulrich. So it's going to last a little longer, feeling-wise, than 3.5 bars, but that's what it is. And in terms of picking, it's up to you what you want to do. I'm, for example, here just doing down, upstroke for the 10th fret on the top string, then I'm doing a downstroke on the 3rd string 10th fret, and then I'm doing an upstroke on the 9th fret. But make sure to add a little bit of vibrato every single time you play that 9th fret and let it ring out. So in terms of counting, it'd be 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and then what it does is this. So you're going to play the first 4 notes the same, but instead of going to the 9th fret, you're going to go to the 12th fret on the top string, and then do a slow slide down the E string. Let's hear the whole entire outro bit. So that is Kirk's part only for the outro. So as I said, James Hetfield during all of this bit is playing that same riff you learned before 3 times. James then plays this 3 times, so 3 bars worth. 1, 2nd bar, 3rd bar, and then to finish it off he plays this. All the pickings the same as before for the... So for this very, very last bit, all we're going to do is go down, down, up, down, up. Only go that far with our rhythm. And then we play the main riff up to that point. So 12, 13, 12. But now, when we go to 13, we're going to play a power chord. We're obviously just going to play the 12th as a power chord too. And similar to the timing for Kirk Hammett with his last note, it's the same for this power chord on the 12th fret for James Hetfield. So down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 slide. So if we play now all of that last bit after the 4 repeats of the main riff for James, whilst Kirk's doing his lead, this is what it sounds like for James. Obviously here I'm not factoring in the fact that the drums slow down in the last few bars, but you'll just have to have a listen to that yourself and play along to the track. It's pretty straightforward. Right guys, so that is the entirety of the song. So that is how to play both James Hetfield's parts and Kirk Hammett's parts. I hope you found this video really useful and insightful. This has took me quite a long time to record. Well, actually the best part of a day. So I hope it's not too long and boring. I've really tried to go into a lot of detail and help you guys out and show you to the best of my ability what the individual guitar parts are. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video guys, please make sure to subscribe, make sure to like and comment down below how you get on with learning this song. Please make sure to smash that like button as it really helps me out with the algorithm. I'll also be recording and uploading far more guitar lessons. So if you do like my approach to teaching, then please also make sure to like and hit the subscribe button. If you want the tab, then of course go onto my website, www.sean-bennett.com. So there you go. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.